So hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. As I'm sure you've all heard by now, there has been an incident here with a NSA leaker. She's been arrested now. She leaked some classified documents to The Intercept, and The Intercept has now published them. So in today's video, we're going to be unpacking that a little bit. We're going to be taking a look at what's going on, give you a little background information as usual, and then, as usual, my take. So, from The Intercept. Top secret NSA report details Russian hacking effort days before 2016 election. Now, we're not going to read their take on this. As always, everything I show you here will be linked in the description below in case I forget to say that again. But if you scroll down here and click right here, it takes you to the actual report, which is what we're going to be reading. So, National Security Agency, Russia Cybersecurity, Main Intelligence Directorate cyber actors redacted target U.S. companies and local U.S. government officials using voter registration themed emails, spoof election related products and services, research absentee ballot email addresses, August to November 2016. So, this first part here is just talking about the laws behind this document, particularly. And this part's talking about the unclassified parts are still classified because of the classified parts in it. You can read that for yourself if you like. We're going to jump in right into the summary here. This little header right here stands for top security, or top secret. SI stands for comment, um, originator controlled, related to USA FISA court. So, Russia General Staff Main Intelligence Directorate actors redacted executed cyber espionage I'm real tired here, guys. Just bear with me. We're going to get through this. Executed cyber espionage operations against a named U.S. company in August 2016, evidently to obtain information on elections-related software and hardware solutions, according to information that became available in April 2017. The actors likely used data obtained from that operation to create a new email account and launch a voter registration-themed spear phishing campaign targeting U.S. local government organizations. The spear phishing emails contained a Microsoft Word document trojanized with a Visual Basic script which when open, would spawn a PowerShell instance and beacon out to malicious infrastructure. Now, I want you to take note of that last part right there, where it's talking about the Trojanized Word document and the PowerShell instance. Just keep that in mind for later. In October 2016, the actors also created a new email address that was potentially used to offer election-related products and services, presumably to U.S.-based targets. Lastly, the actors sent test emails to two non-existent accounts, sorry about that, ostensibly associated with absentee balloting, presumably with the purpose of creating those accounts to mimic legitimate services. Campaign against U.S. Company 1 and voter registration themed phishing of U.S. local government officials. Russian cyber threat actors target U.S. Company 1. So we're right in here. Cyber threat actors redacted executed a spear phishing campaign from the email address no-reply-automated-service@gmail.com on August 24, 2016, targeting victims that included employees of U.S. Company 1, according to information that became available in April 2017. This campaign appeared to be designed to obtain the end user's email credentials by enticing the victims to click on the embedded link with a spoofed Gmail alert, which would redirect the users to the malicious domain. Redacted, of course. The following potential victims were identified, and these are all classified. These names have not been disseminated in this document. But as you can see, there are 7 different email addresses here, all linked with US Company 1. 3 of the malicious emails were rejected by the email server with the response message that the victim address did not exist. The 3 rejected email addresses were US email address 1 to 3 associated with US Company 1. So they're just saying these first 3 right here were rejected. So we're looking down here, the GRU redacted is also, and this point is referring to the first point right in here. The GRU is also rendered as military unit redacted. So again, it seems to me they're implying that this redaction here has something to do with the GRU and the phishing campaign going on here. And point 2 down here, which relates to the phishing campaign, says for additional information on redacted and its cyber espionage mandate specifically directed at U.S. and foreign elections, see redacted. So we're on page 3 now. So here we go. We're right in here. The redacted actors were probably trying to obtain information associated with election-related hardware and software applications. It is unknown whether the aforementioned spear phishing deployment successfully compromised all the intended victims and what potential data from the victim could have been exfiltrated. However, based upon subsequent targeting, it was likely that at least one account was compromised. So they're talking about these 7 email addresses here. We know 4 of them were rejected, or I'm sorry, the first 3 of here were rejected. Out of the next 4, they're saying it was likely that one of these were compromised, but they don't know what possibly could have been taken. So continuing here, cyber threat actors create spoofed account and voter registration themed targeting for local government officials. So right in here, the redacted cyber threat actors created a new operational email account, vr.elections@gmail.com, with the username company1 on 27th of October 2016. Comment in here, it is likely that the cyber threat actors created this email address to appear as if they were an employee of the U.S. Company 1. The cyber threat actors had an email account, the cyber threat actors had in the email account 2 Trojanized Microsoft Word documents with the titles New EVID User Guides.docm and New Staging Checklist AOI Style EVID.docm. Both of these documents had identical content and hash values and contained the same malicious Visual Basic script. Now keep that in mind. I want y'all to keep that in mind for what I'm going to talk about later. The body of the Trojanized documents contained detailed instructions on how to configure EVID software on Microsoft Windows machines. According to EVID's FAQ website, unclassified EVID software allows poll workers to quickly check a voter's registration status, name, and address. End of collateral. Excuse me. So I'm not a computer expert here. I even have troubles editing my own videos, as you could tell, I'm sure, with the clarity of the last video. But I hope I've got that figured out. I hope the quality of this one will be much better. So we're going to get into, try to unpack this for you a little bit, do the best I can here. So we get into some technical information coming up here. So, all right. Cyber threat actor, I'm sorry, I already read that. We are right here. Subsequently, the cyber threat actors used the VR Elections Gmail account to contact U.S. email address 1 to 122 associated with named local government organizations. Comment. It is possible that the target email addresses were obtained from the previously compromised accounts of U.S. Company 1. The new staging checklist AOI style EVID document was last modified on October 31st, 2016, and the other one, new EVID user guides document, was last modified uh, on November 1st, 2016. Comment: this likely indicates that the spear phishing campaign occurred either October 31st or November 1st, although the exact date of the spear phishing campaign was not confirmed. And I'm kind of a stickler for this kind of stuff, but there was an error right here, and there was also an error somewhere else. I saw it earlier when I read it, but I kind of just blasted through it just now. I just saw that one, and it reminded me of that. I just wanted to point that out. So, comment: given the context of the malicious email, it was likely that the threat actor was targeting officials involved in the management of voter registration systems. It is unknown whether the aforementioned spear phishing deployment successfully compromised the intended victims, and what potential data could have been accessed by the cyber actor. So, technical analysis of the Trojanized documents. Both Trojanized Microsoft Word documents contained a malicious visual basic script that spawns PowerShell, and it uses it to execute a series of commands to retrieve and then run an unknown payload from malicious infrastructure located at a US IP address on port 8080, probably running Microsoft IIS /7.5 server. Now please try to stay with me here, and again, this is some technical information. I'm going to do the best I can to lay out what's on my mind here for you. Just please try to stay with me here and keep this in mind. In particular, the Trojan documents and the PowerShell and the Microsoft 7 and injecting stuff into. Just stay with me on this. Comment: we're right in here. Comment: the unknown payload very likely installs a second payload, which can then be used to establish persistent access or survey the victim for items of interest to the threat actors. The request used a user agreement string of Mozilla 5.0, Windows NT 6.1, WOW64, Trident 7.0, RV 11.0, like Gecko. Lastly, the malicious Microsoft Word documents hashed the following values, and I'm not going to read all of that off to you. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but it does relate to what we're going to talk about later on, so just keep in mind these hashed values and things like that. Operational accounts spoofing legitimate elections-related services. Spoofing email address associated with U.S. Company 2. In parallel to the aforementioned campaign, the redacted cyber threat actors created another new operational email account, Elevation System at Outlook.com, on 19th of October 2016. They then used this email address to send a test message to another known redacted operational email account. In that test email, which was written in English, the threat actor spoofed U.S. Company 2 and offered election-related products and services. All emails associated with this account were later deleted, and it was unknown if there was any targeting using this email account. Comment, and there's another one of those mistakes. Comment: given that the email body was written in English and prepared less than 1 month before the 2016 U.S. presidential election, it was likely intended for U.S.-based targets. Good point. Additionally, the redacted cyber threat actors sent what appeared to be a test email to 2 other accounts. Request absentee at American SAMOA election office. I think that might be Samoa election office.org, and request absentee at American Samoa election office.org. In both cases, the actors received a response from the email server on October 18th, stating that the message failed to send, indicating that the two counts did not exist. Comment: given that the test email did not contain any malicious links or attachments, it appeared threat actors' intent was to create the email accounts rather than compromise them, presumably with the purpose of mimicking a legitimate absentee ballot related with service provider. So that is the end of their report here. And now they give us a nice little summary of what's going on here. And it's in very small writing. You might not be able to see it. Bear with me while I try to read it to you and make sense of all this to you. I'm going to do the best I can here. So down here at the bottom, they show us a legend. The legend is: green lines are confirmed information, yellow lines are analysis judgment, and gray lines are contextual information. The orange labels are adversary objectives. So the best way I can figure to make sense of this is to start right here with the little, looks like an engineer guy, a picture of a wrench or something, says operators. So with the arrow pointing out, it says registered with personal cell phone on one account. So this is them setting up the fake email addresses they were talking about. And then from the email addresses, they sent test emails back to their personal accounts. So in stage 2 here is what they're calling the create stage. And the adversary's objective stated here is staging. So what they say they're doing to stage this here, and again, this is very small letters, so I'm going to do the best I can to read it to you. Mimicked alerts from Google that were related to purported issues with the targeted user's account, enticing the recipient to click on a malicious embedded link. And down here at the bottom it says typical ruses include lack of storage, password changes, and account verification request related to the it looks like Steam web account. It might be system, but again, this is really hard to read. And so what they're doing is they're setting up a fake system here to send out alerts to Google users. It says here email in native language of intended target. So they're sending these emails, which is we'll get into it. It explains it more. And off to the side here, the malicious hyperlinks provided were associated with either customized bit.ly links, a domain shortening service, or IP address redirecting the unwitting victim to a credential harvesting site where the redacted actors could conduct a man-in-the-middle attack. So, again, well, I should lay something else out for you here. Here's the adversary space, neutral space. This is all going on in cyberspace. And here is where we're getting into what they did to somebody, what they allegedly did to somebody. So they're sending these emails with fake links to the intended target, which they say are U.S. and foreign government political entities. So these spoof links that are going to take them to similar email, these credential harvesting sites, they're sending these emails to the intended target here. So if the intended target decides to click, it redirects it to, as I said, the credential harvesting site. And a little bit about the credential harvesting site here. It says actor control website that closely resembles Google website page. So this is going to be some kind of application they've set up that is going to very closely resemble Google, where it's going to give you that prompt to reset your password. Somebody's tried to break into your account. It's going to give you the prompt of lack of storage, like they were saying right up here. The account verification request, whatever it may be. So once the victim supplied this information, or well, I guess I should back up a little bit. And so yeah, so from the credential harvesting site, The user will then get the prompt, like I said, to change their password, put in whatever kind of personal information that this email is asking for, and send it back. And the little side note here, the exploitation process, um, if 2F, well, let me read this, it explains a little bit here. If the victim had previously enabled two-factor authentication, 2FA, the actor control website would further prompt the victim to provide their phone number and a legitimate Google verification code. So that's where so if you're like most people with a Google account, if you got everything in your life, you know, your Gmail, your phone number, your everything's all, this uh, network of things, if you've got that set up like most people do, it would then ask you for your phone number and it's going to send the verification code, like I'm sure everybody who's watching this has been through. So from that point, all this information goes back into the credential harvesting side. I don't know why. I'm tired. I'm sorry, guys. I'm having trouble talking here. Once the victim supplied this information to the actor control website, it would be relayed to a legitimate Google service, but only after the redacted actors had successfully obtained the victim's password, and if 2FA, the Google for your phone number and Google verification code and everything in your life. So now we got to go to the yellow lines and see how they are linking all this stuff up. So the stuff outlined in yellow here, remember, that's the analysis judgment. So right here we're going to read, there were indications that the threat actors may have similar efforts against other web-based email services, indicating Microsoft Live, Webmail, AOL, and Mail.ru. And this one right here, it is unknown if the GRU was able to successfully compromise any of the entities targeted as part of this campaign. And you see what it says in their little summary right here. Remember up top it said likely that they compromised one. Likely that they compromised one. Here it is saying it is unknown if it was able to successfully compromise any of the entities targeted as part of this campaign. While this redacted cyber espionage program utilized some techniques that were similar to the other Russian GRU cyber operations units, this activity demonstrated several characteristics that distinguish it from other major GRU spearphishing programs known as redacted. So what it's saying right here in this little part right here is they don't even actually know if these operators are connected to the GRU or whoever this redacted company is. You can see this yellow line here. It is saying probably within. And remember, that's their judgment. So they are going on. They are telling us, the information they're going on is other Russian. See right here, other Russian GRU cyber operation units with similar techniques. And if you see, to bring this all around and tell you what they're doing here, they are trying to obtain these people's credentials so they can log in here using this here. So they are going about this roundabout way to get all this information about this to then be able to go from their home, their private accounts directly to here. So now, like I've said, I've pointed out that they don't know for sure if these operators are even connected to the GRU, and I'm going to try to back that up just a little bit. Excuse me again. So now, during the election, when WikiLeaks, or I'm sorry, back there I was, I'm tired. Let me get my train of thought back here. During the election, I was very in depth into the WikiLeaks and all the stuff having to do with the DNC and Hillary Clinton and John Podesta. And when Vault 7 came out, I naturally dove into that. So when I first read the report here, there are quite a few things that stood out to me. And if you remember when I told you to keep an eye on certain things, take note of certain things that we're going to be looking at, well, this is the time to bring back your memory a little bit. I'm going to try to tie this in as best I can here. First thing I want to highlight here, now this is the WikiLeaks page. You can go dive into this stuff as much as you want to. You're more than welcome. But back on March 7th of 2017, WikiLeaks dumped Vault 7, which is their biggest dump of classified documents all at one time, they say. So in their press release here, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. There's just a point here I want to make and tie it in a little bit. Now, I'm bringing up CIA's hacking tools, not to say that the CIA is responsible for doing this stuff, but to bring up a point that was not highly talked about in the media, which is third paragraph in here from their press release, right in here. Recently, the CIA lost control of the majority of its hacking arsenal, including malware, viruses, trojans, weaponized zero-day exploits, malware remote control systems, and associated documentation. This extraordinary collection, which amounts to several hundred million lines of codes, gives its possessor the entire hacking capability of the CIA. The archive appears to have been circulated among the former U.S. government hackers and contractors in an unauthorized manner, one of whom has provided WikiLeaks with portions of the archive. So what they're saying here is everything that they're showing here has been put out, has been mishandled by the CIA and passed around so much that they don't know who has control of this. Anybody could have control of anything I'm fixing to show you. These leaks, you can see here they're talking about passing it between government hackers and contractors in an unauthorized manner. That to me tells me that somebody with unclassified that doesn't have the clearance to be having this stuff. So a little further down the page here, I'm not going to scroll down and try to mess up my feed, but it gives some examples of these different hacking tools. One of them I want to highlight here. So Umbridge, the CIA's handcrafted hacking technique. Or hold on, I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm really tired. Let me back up to why I was bringing up the point about this information being passed out and why I'm relating this to the NSA stuff. Am I saying the CIA did this? No. But everything I'm going to show you here and link to what they're saying about this NSA document, nobody knows who has control of these CIA hacking tools. So therefore, all the stuff that you see here that I'm going to show you that is linked to these WikiLeaks and things that the CIA can do, that nobody knows who can do this. Everybody has this. So let's continue on. Umbridge, the CIA's handcrafted hacking techniques pose a problem for the agency. Each technique each technique it has created forms a fingerprint that can be used by forensic investigators to attribute multiple different attacks to the same entity. This is analogous to finding the same distinctive knife wound on multiple separate murder victims. The unique wounding style creates suspicion that a single murderer is responsible. As soon as one murder is the set is solved and the other murders also finally likely attribution. So what are they talking about here? The CIA's Remote Devices Branch, the Umbrage Group, collects and maintains a substantial library of attack techniques and stolen from malware produced in other states, including the Russian Federation. What do you know? With Umbrage and related projects, the CIA can not only increase its total number of attack types, but also misdirect attribution by leaving behind the fingerprints of the groups that the attack techniques were stolen from. Umbrage components cover keyloggers, password collection, webcam capture, data destruction, persistence, privilege escalation, stealth, antivirus, PSP avoidance, and survey techniques. So, the CIA can hack people, they can go in and take control over things, they can launch certain types of attacks where they can misdirect attribution, leaving fingerprints of other groups where they stole stuff from, including Russia. And I've read another. I'm not going to look it up for this video, but you're more than welcome to dive into WikiLeaks for yourself. I've read where they also have other people's stuff on file, which would naturally you would just assume. So if you click right here, the link says a substantial library. It takes you to their component library. So the Umbrage team maintains a library of application development techniques borrowed from the in the wild malware. The goal of its repository is to produce functional code snippets that can be rapidly combined into custom solutions. Rather than building feature-rich tools, they were often costly and can have significant CI value. This effort focuses on developing smaller and more targeted solutions built to operational specifications. This page organizes the collection based on its functionality and captures relevant technical information. When possible, each item should include a working example of the technique and/or a pointer to code in the SVN repository, documentation describing application of the technique, and notes concerning or use of the techniques in delivered tools. The Umbrage Component Library (GIT) repository, located in Stash, contains example code for many of these techniques. So now we're going to go back into this NSA report here and link up a couple things, what they're talking about. We're going to go through some of these CIA hacking tools and this Umbrage component library. One thing I think I should go ahead and touch on real quick, DLL and DLL hijacking. I didn't know what that was right at first. Again, I'm not a computer whiz. I had to do a little bit of looking up and researching. But right here, just a simple definition of it. DLL hijacking is really a simple concept. Applications load external code via, well, let me give you the definition. DLL is dynamic link libraries. And that is a really simple concept. Applications load external code via DLLs. DLL hijacking is a process by which malicious code is injected into an application via a malicious DLL with the same name as a DLL used by the application. So, again, if I'm wrong about this, please correct me in the comments. I would definitely like to know. But to me, where are we at here? To me, that kind of sounds like what they might be doing with this credential harvesting site, creating some kind of application that would very closely resemble Google. But let's get back into this component library, see where this takes us. The first section here, the data collection components, it's talking about the keylogger, where they can log your keystrokes, which that information's been around forever. We've known about that for a very long time. A lot of this CIA hacking stuff was just confirmation of stuff that we've known that's been out for a very long time. And they get into webcam captures, and so data destruction doesn't really have a lot to do with what we're talking about here. But we get into the persistence components. Now we're going to go through and read through some of these descriptions. Image file execution options. Registry key that designed to assist with debugging and allows the user to specify an executable that should be run instead of the specified application. Second one here, which is talking about the DLL service and DLL hijacks. Shell extension persistence. Abuses of Windows Explorer shell extensions to provide persistence. If we click on this link, hopefully this doesn't mess up my video, and we go into what it's talking about here, they're specifically talking about the extensions to these DLL links, these libraries, and specifically having to do with Windows XP, and was this the one where I saw Windows 7 included in it? Maybe not, might have been the next one, but we'll continue. Maybe it was this one. DLL hijack notable because the original DLL is not typically required by the system. I think this is the one where they were specifically talking about this. This is a simple DLL hijacking attack that we have successfully tested against Windows XP, Vista, and 7. A DLL named fxsst.dll normally resides in Windows Systems 32 and is located by Explorer XXE. So this is kind of old. They've been doing this for a while. And why do I bring up Windows 7? Well, if you remember in this report, somewhere I told you to remember it. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find it very quickly right here. But when it said that the election companies were using Windows 7.5, that was somewhere in here, the Windows 7.5 server. I know I pointed it out. Of course, I can't find it right off the top of my head here, but let's continue. So we're talking about the privilege escalation components. My take on this, again, I'm not a computer expert, but from what I get here, this is gonna, like it says here, exploits DLL load order by dropping a DLL into the sysprep folder, then invoking a sysprep utility to load it with elevation. So I'm thinking this means that the fake DLL, the hijack DLL, would take precedence over the real DLL. So we look at some of their stealth components here. Anti-sandboxing, wait for mouse clicks. Emote DLL injection via mapping. Directly maps DLL into a remote process through a combination of waiting to remote process through forcing it to load library dependencies. I was reading through some of this, and this has to do with waiting to see when you're operational and when you're not by your mouse clicks, and waiting to be released from a mouse click to take over your system, something like that. So let's continue on here. Create a process suspended and then use section mapping to achieve the process hollowing. Use a callback function in the set windows API to start a remote thread without using the create remote API thread. Memory loads a DLL into the current process and adds the new DLL to the introverted function table to support SEH exception handling. So as you can see here, this is what they're talking about is going on in this down here with the whole setup of this. They're talking about setting up these fake accounts, and we absolutely know that the WikiLeaks is a very reputable outlet here. We know that all of this information is true. Nobody's ever come out and said any of it's not true. So until somebody proves WikiLeaks to be discredited, I'm gonna go with what WikiLeaks says. There was a couple other things I was wanting to show you here, where it was talking about the hashes. So here it is, the API under the PSP debugging RE avoidance components. The API obfuscation using hashes enables an application to locate DLLs and exported functions via a hash of the application programming interface name used to obfuscate API calls. So if you remember what I was talking about in this NSA report with these hashes right here, this is again another link to what we're talking about and WikiLeaks. A couple other things I wanted to point out to you here. Process hollowing. Process hollowing involves starting a benign process such as Internet Explorer using Windows create process with a specific flag set to create the process in suspended mode. At this point, the component removes the benign process code from the suspended process, injects its own malicious code, and resumes the process. PSP's personal security its personal security may also do an initial scan when the process is created. Even though it's suspended at the start, it won't notice the code replacement. Also, dynamic analysis tools such as Procom with only log show, so you get the point here. Again, that goes back to what we're talking about here for this link here. When that's what they're saying. Once they've gathered all this information, the hypothetical link here, what they're going to do with it is talking about these injecting these benign processes into the voter registration programs and the absentee ballot stuff. And again, guys, I'm tired here. I'm barely getting through this, but I thought this was really important, and I wanted to bring this up tonight while everything was still fresh in my mind. And here another anti-sandboxing wait for mouse click. Talking about the Trojan up clicker, and we're talking about these hashes, these DLL hacks, hijacking, the Trojan Windows programs. This is all right here in the component library, all given to us by WikiLeaks Vault 7. So what's my point of all this? My point is, they haven't given us any information here, really. This is another ruse. In my opinion, this is just like the John Podesta hack. This is just like the DNC hack. This is just like Hillary Clinton's personal email server being hacked. And this is the same narrative twisted into a different story. This phishing narrative coming from Russia. And again, I can't stress this enough. Everything we've seen here, we can find somewhere in these Vault 7 hacking tools. So this isn't enough. You can see the connection, what they're saying right here, that the operators are probably within Russia, and whoever this redacted organization is, that's not enough information. These are the same intelligence organizations that told us there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And, they've lied to us so many times about so many things. And, you can put forward different conspiracy theories, look at what President Trump said about the CIA pre-election. He wasn't very fond of them, thought they were too secretive, thought they had too much power, deep state, yada, yada, yada. So, I mean, who's to say that the CIA didn't set all this up? Who's to say the CIA, deep state, whatever you want to call it, didn't set up this whole operation to try to get Hillary to win? What? How do we know they're not projecting this at Russia? How do they know this is? How do we know this isn't something they did and they're telling us that Russia did? And this is also a big problem with my view on a police state like this. I mean, they have been looking into this Russia thing for so long. Why is this information just coming out in April of 2017? Why April of why did it take them so long? The to me, this seems like either A, it's a complete setup, or B, they have sat in a little room somewhere and come up with a way Russia could have hacked the election. So either A, this is something that they're doing, or B, this is something they have completely concocted to make it look like Russia has some way meddled in the election. Now those are just my opinions again. But I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up there. It's pretty late here. I'm getting tired. I really appreciate it if you've stuck with me through this entire video. I hope I've helped you gain a little perspective on this topic. This this really seems like another hit piece to me. This really seems like another attempt to undermine the president. Um, if you enjoyed this video, if you liked my format, this is what I try to do. I haven't had many videos yet. I guess I'll go ahead and give you the channel update now. I didn't want to do that at the beginning of the video. I just kind of wanted to jump right into it. Um, I've noticed that the day-to-day videos are not going to be possible for me right now. I'm way too busy for that. Um, as of right now, hopefully sometime in the near future, maybe I'll be able to do something better. But it's going to be maybe 2-3 times a week. I'm going to still try to do my long format type video, which this isn't technically a long format type video, not what I'm talking about. We're going to be going in depth into a few things I've got in mind. But if you like this style of video, please subscribe to my channel. Like I did here, I try to go through and source everything to you, show you exactly what I'm talking about, link everything together in a hopefully logical way, put my opinions out there in the marketplace of ideas and see how they fare. Again, if you enjoyed this channel, please subscribe to my channel. Sorry, if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel. You can also follow me on Twitter at PT Investigates. That's capital PTI Investigates. PT Investigates. You can also follow me on Gab at uppercase P, lowercase t, in uppercase investigates, PT Investigates with a lowercase t. And I guess that's it. And I'm not going to edit this video. It's too late at night. So again, you've stuck through all the stammering and me thinking out what I'm trying to say as I go here. So I really appreciate that. I'm still new to this, and hopefully they'll get better and better as I go. I just really wanted to get this all out there while it was still fresh on my mind. I know I'm repeating myself once again, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut myself off right there. But everyone have a great night, and I will see you next time on PT Investigates.